Give yourself 90 days to level up. Introduction. Time is one of the most misunderstood resources we have. Some people treat it as if it is running out, while others act as if it stretches endlessly ahead. Both are illusions. The truth is that time is neither scarce nor infinite. It is abundant only when used with purpose. 90 days, just 3 short months, may sound like too little to matter in the grand scheme of your life, but it is more than enough to redefine your habits, shift your mindset, and begin living at a completely different level. If you give yourself 90 days, not as a wish or a hope, but as a dedicated container of focused energy, you can experience a transformation so significant that the rest of your life will never look the same again. Many people overestimate what they can achieve in a week and underestimate what they can achieve in 3 months. A single week may feel rushed, scattered, and incomplete. A year may feel too overwhelming to commit to without losing focus along the way, but 90 days is the sweet spot. It is long enough to build real momentum, yet short enough to see the finish line from where you stand. It is a time frame that creates urgency without panic, discipline without burnout, and vision without delay. When you commit to a 90-day journey, you give yourself a powerful combination of structure and possibility. You set a window of time that is both achievable and extraordinary. This is not about doing everything at once. The purpose of these 90 days is not to overload your schedule, punish yourself with impossible standards, or chase perfection. It is about alignment. When you align your energy, your daily actions, and your vision for your life, the changes compound rapidly. A new habit, a consistent practice, or a single courageous decision may not look like much on day 1, but over 90 days those choices multiply. The progress that once felt invisible suddenly becomes undeniable. What begins as a small shift in direction becomes a new trajectory for your entire life. An abundance mindset is the foundation of this process. Without it, 90 days can become nothing more than a long to-do list or a strict experiment that burns out before it finishes. With an abundance mindset, however, you stop focusing on what you lack and begin focusing on what you can create. You begin to see opportunities where once you saw limitations. You replace the language of not enough with the language of more than enough. The moment you embrace abundance, you realize that the next 90 days are not about fixing something broken. They are about stepping into a higher version of yourself that has been waiting to emerge. The promise of 90 days is not that your life will be complete, flawless, or finished. The promise is that you will not be the same person who started. You will think differently, act differently, and see yourself differently. You will begin to carry the confidence of someone who knows that change is possible, not in theory but in practice. You will have proof, written into your days and your results, that you can shift your path in a concentrated period of time. And that proof will be the foundation for everything you create beyond the 90 days. Your next 90 days are waiting. They are already full of potential, ready to respond to your decision. You do not need more time, more resources, or more permission. You only need to decide that the next 3 months of your life matter enough to commit to. Once you make that decision, the structure of this journey will carry you forward. Day by day, week by week, you will notice the changes unfolding and you will feel the new momentum building. By the end, you will not only have leveled up, you will have built a new way of living in alignment with abundance. This book is your guide, but the real work is yours. The chapters ahead will provide clarity, strategies, and encouragement, but the true transformation will come from your choice to show up for yourself every single day. Do not underestimate what you can do in 90 days. Give yourself this gift and prepare to be amazed at the power of focused time, aligned action, and an abundance-driven mindset. Chapter 1: The Power of 90 Days. There is something powerful about a defined stretch of time. Human beings respond to structure. Without it, we drift, convincing ourselves that we will get around to the changes we desire someday, when the timing is better, when we feel ready, or when life slows down. Yet the truth is that someday rarely comes. What changes everything is when you draw a line in the sand and declare that from this moment forward, the next 90 days will not pass unnoticed. They will not disappear into the blur of weeks and months where nothing shifts. Instead, they will become a deliberate container, a season of your life that you choose to shape with intention. Why 90 days? Because it is long enough for real change to take root and short enough to keep your focus sharp. Think of how often people commit to year-long resolutions, only to fizzle out by the 3rd week. A year is too abstract, too far away. It is difficult to hold energy for something that feels so distant. On the other hand, a week or two is not enough to experience meaningful results. Habits barely have time to form, and momentum barely begins before life pulls you in another direction. But 90 days creates the perfect balance. It offers urgency without overwhelm, clarity without endless delay. It is close enough to inspire commitment, and long enough to ensure that when you finish, you will not be the same as when you started. The secret of 90 days lies in its rhythm. 3 months is a season. It is a natural cycle, a span of time that allows us to plant, nurture, and harvest. In 90 days, you can install new habits so deeply that they begin to feel automatic. You can change the way you speak to yourself, the way you show up for your work, the way you treat your body, and the way you pursue your dreams. And because the finish line is always visible in the distance, you are more likely to stay consistent. You know you are not committing to forever. You are committing to a season, a chapter of focused growth that will ripple forward into every part of your life. Another reason 90 days is so powerful is because of the way it compresses possibility. When you tell yourself you have a year, you often waste the first half believing you have more time. When you give yourself 90 days, every day suddenly matters. Each action, each choice, each moment is part of the larger picture. 90 days forces you to prioritize. It challenges you to ask, what truly matters now? Where can I place my energy so that I see real results by the end of this season? You begin to focus not on everything, but on the most important things. That level of clarity is life-changing. It is also important to understand that 90 days is not simply about external goals. Yes, you might set out to lose weight, write a book, grow your business, or deepen your relationships. But underneath those goals lies something far more transformative. A 90-day journey is about identity. It is about proving to yourself that you can choose a path, commit to it, and walk it with consistency. The person you become during those 90 days is the real reward. The external results matter, of course, but they pale in comparison to the internal strength, discipline, and confidence you develop. That identity shift is what allows the transformation to last far beyond the 90 days themselves. Skeptics may argue that 90 days is not enough to truly change. They are wrong. 90 days is enough to see dramatic shifts because human beings are wired for adaptation. When you change your inputs, your thoughts, your habits, your daily actions, you inevitably change your outputs. Small shifts compound, and before long you begin to see evidence of progress that reinforces your belief. That reinforcement fuels more action, which creates more result. This is the cycle of momentum, and it is why 90 days is such a powerful container. It gives you the time to build the cycle, sustain it, and reap the rewards. Think about the areas of your life that feel stagnant right now. Perhaps you have been telling yourself for years that you will get healthy, save money, start that project, or finally step into your purpose. What if you stopped waiting for the perfect time and gave yourself the next 90 days as the proving ground? Imagine waking up 3 months from now with momentum, clarity, and evidence that you are no longer stuck. Imagine feeling the pride of knowing you followed through. 90 days is not a lifetime, but it is enough to change the direction of your lifetime. Another key reason 90 days works is because it aligns with how the mind embraces challenges. When the task is endless, the mind resists. When the task has a clear beginning and end, the mind leans in. By setting the boundary of 90 days, you create a game, a challenge, a mission. And human beings love missions. We thrive when we know there is a goal to reach and a finish line to cross. The satisfaction of completion is one of the most powerful motivators you can harness. And 90 days provides exactly that. The abundance mindset is critical here. If you enter this 90-day journey with scarcity, telling yourself there is not enough time, not enough resources, not enough talent, you will find reasons to quit. But if you step into it with abundance, believing that there is more than enough opportunity, more than enough energy, more than enough potential, you will begin to see solutions and possibilities that were invisible before. Abundance fuels perseverance. It reminds you that the world is not working against you, but with you, as long as you choose to show up and participate fully. The beauty of 90 days is that it is repeatable. At the end of one cycle, you can begin another, each time at a higher level. Over a year, that means you can experience 4 powerful cycles of growth. Imagine who you would be after not 1 but 4 deliberate 90-day journeys. The compounding effect is astonishing. You will look back and barely recognize the person you once were. This is the essence of leveling up, not a single leap, but a series of intentional seasons that build upon one another until you are living at a level that once seemed impossible. You do not have to wait for January 1st, the start of a new month, or the perfect alignment of circumstances. Your 90 days can begin today. All that is required is a decision, Once you decide, everything shifts. The structure of time is already waiting for you. The 90 days will pass whether you choose to use them or not. The only question is whether you will step into them with intention or allow them to slip away unnoticed. If you choose to claim them, you will be astonished by what you can accomplish. This is the power of 90 days. It is not about rushing or forcing. It is about creating a focused window of growth, stepping fully into it, and emerging transformed. It is about discovering that you are capable of far more than you imagined when you give yourself the gift of time, commitment, and alignment. And once you have tasted that power, you will never again underestimate what you can do in a single season of your life. Chapter 2. Shifting into Abundance. Every transformation begins with the mind. If you approach your 90-day journey with the same thought patterns that have kept you stuck, you will find yourself repeating the same cycles. You might take action, but if the underlying beliefs are rooted in scarcity, you will eventually sabotage yourself, lose momentum, or convince yourself that it is not worth continuing. To level up in 90 days, the foundation must be abundance, because abundance changes not only what you do, but also how you experience every step of the journey. Scarcity is the mindset that whispers you are not enough and there is not enough. It tells you that your time is limited, that opportunities are rare, and that success is only available to a chosen few. Scarcity looks at the future and sees obstacles instead of possibilities. It looks at other people's success and interprets it as proof of your own inadequacy. It thrives on fear, comparison, and doubt. If you let scarcity drive your 90 days, you will treat your goals like chores and your growth like punishment. You will chase results with desperation instead of expansion, and when challenges come, as they always do, you will see them as proof that the journey is impossible. Abundance, on the other hand, tells a completely different story. It says, there is always enough time to begin, enough creativity to solve problems, enough opportunities waiting to be claimed. It says your growth does not take away from anyone else, and someone else's success is evidence of what is possible for you too. Abundance reframes challenges as teachers and setbacks as stepping stones. It allows you to show up for 90 days with excitement instead of dread, curiosity instead of fear, and a deep knowing that what you desire is not only possible but already within reach if you align with it. The difference between scarcity and abundance is not minor. It is the difference between burning out and breaking through. The shift into abundance begins with awareness. You must first catch yourself in the language of scarcity. Pay attention to how often you tell yourself you do not have enough time, enough money, enough skill, or enough energy. These phrases slip out of the mouth so easily that we forget they are not facts, but beliefs. 90 days gives you the perfect opportunity to rewire those beliefs. Each time you notice scarcity language, replace it with abundance language. Instead of, I don't have time, try, I can choose how to use my time. Instead of, I'm not good enough, remind yourself, I am learning and growing. Instead of, it's too late, affirm, now is the perfect time to begin. These small linguistic shifts retrain your brain to look for possibility instead of limitation. Living in abundance also means focusing on what you do have rather than what you lack. Scarcity always keeps your eyes on the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Abundance keeps your eyes on the progress you are making and the resources already available to you. During your 90 days, gratitude becomes a powerful tool. By taking time daily to recognize what you already have, you multiply your sense of possibility. Gratitude is not passive, it is an amplifier. It turns your attention toward opportunities and solutions that were hidden when your mind was locked in scarcity. Gratitude fuels momentum because it reminds you that growth is already happening, and that alone motivates you to keep going. Another critical piece of shifting into abundance is releasing the belief that everything must be perfect before you start. Scarcity tells you that you must wait until the timing is ideal, until you have the right resources, until you feel completely ready. Abundance knows that you are ready enough today. Progress is made by moving forward, not by waiting for perfection. The truth is, no matter how long you wait, the doubts will still whisper, the conditions will never be flawless, and the courage will only grow after you begin. When you embrace abundance, you understand that taking imperfect action now is more valuable than waiting for the elusive perfect moment. The next 90 days will unfold in your favor only if you step into them now. Abundance also changes the way you view effort. Scarcity sees effort as exhausting, as proof that things are too hard, as a drain on your limited reserves. Abundance sees effort as investment, as energy that multiplies and returns to you in greater measure. When you put in effort from a place of scarcity, you resent the process and constantly look for shortcuts. When you put in effort from a place of abundance, you find joy in the process, you celebrate progress, and you discover energy you did not know you had. Abundance does not mean the work is easy, but it means the work is meaningful. And that makes all the difference. As you move through your 90-day journey, you will encounter resistance. You will face days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or uncertain. In those moments, scarcity will tempt you to quit, insisting that you never had what it takes. Abundance will remind you that resistance is part of the process, that growth often hides behind discomfort, and that the very fact you feel challenged means you are stretching into a higher level of yourself with an abundance mindset. Resistance is not the signal to stop, but the invitation to push through. Shifting into abundance also transforms the way you relate to others. Scarcity makes you view people as competitors, measuring your worth against theirs. Abundance allows you to see them as allies, teachers, and mirrors of what is possible. In the next 90 days, you may meet people who challenge you, inspire you, or even intimidate you. With abundance, you stop asking why them and not me, and start asking, if it's possible for them, what can I learn from my own journey? This shift alone can unlock powerful connections and opportunities that scarcity would have blinded you to. Perhaps the most beautiful part of abundance is the way it expands your definition of success. Scarcity measures success only by results, by whether or not you hit the exact target you set. Abundance measures success by growth, by showing up consistently, by becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more courageous than you were 90 days ago. When you live in abundance, you cannot lose. Even if your goals evolve or your outcomes look different than you imagined, you will still have gained experience, resilience, and proof that you can take control of your path. That is leveling up in its truest form. At its core, the shift into abundance is about choosing to live from possibility instead of limitation. 90 days becomes powerful not because of the calendar but because of the way you choose to frame it. Scarcity will convince you that it is too little time, that nothing can change in 3 months. Abundance will remind you that 3 months of consistent alignment can alter the course of your entire future. One mindset leaves you stuck in hesitation, the other propels you into action. One keeps you circling the same patterns, the other opens doors you never thought to knock on. The choice is yours. As you begin this chapter of your journey, commit to abundance not as a temporary experiment but as a new lens through which you view your life. Speak it, practice it, and embody it. Every time you choose abundance over scarcity, you take another step toward the person you are becoming. And as you continue for 90 days, you will find that abundance is not just a mindset you adopt, but a reality you create. It is the foundation that ensures the changes you make in this season do not fade but expand into the rest of your life. Chapter 3: Defining your level up. If you are going to give yourself 90 days to level up, you must first define what leveling up truly means to you. Without clarity, your energy scatters, your actions lose direction, and you risk finishing 3 months with movement, but no progress. Too many people set out on a journey without a destination, and then they wonder why they feel lost. Clarity is the compass that ensures your 90 days are not just busy, but purposeful. To level up is to rise to a higher version of yourself, to expand into more of what you are capable of, and to embody a life that reflects the abundance within you. But what that looks like is different for each person. And unless you choose your definition, you will unconsciously adopt someone else's vision and miss your own. Defining your level up begins with vision. You must dare to imagine the life that calls to you, the one that perhaps feels intimidating, audacious, or even impossible right now. Too often people hesitate to define what they want because they fear disappointment. They tell themselves it is safer not to dream too big, safer to expect less. That is, scarcity disguised as caution. Abundance, on the other hand, asks you to look directly at your desires without apology. If you want to transform your health, say it. If you want to grow your income, declare it. If you want to write your book, launch your business, or strengthen your relationships, own it. Naming the vision does not guarantee immediate results, but it opens the door to possibility. You cannot reach a destination you refuse to identify. Once you allow yourself to envision the life you desire, the next step is to translate that vision into focus for the next 90 days. This is where many people get stuck because they try to cram every dream into a single season. The result is overwhelm and scattered progress. The key is to choose. Ask yourself, what area of my life, if transformed in the next 90 days, would create the greatest ripple effect everywhere else? Perhaps it is your health, because when your body is energized, everything else becomes easier. Perhaps it is your finances, because creating stability there relieves stress and frees you to expand in other areas. Perhaps it is your mindset, because shifting the way you think will influence every action you take. Choose the one area that will elevate everything else, and let that be the foundation of your 90-day journey. Defining your level up also requires you to be specific. Vague intentions create vague results. Saying, "I want to be healthier" is too broad. It leaves you without a measure of progress. Saying, "I will walk 5 days a week and prepare nourishing meals" gives you something tangible to commit to. Saying, "I want to earn more money" lacks clarity, but declaring, "I will add an additional $1,000 to my monthly income by offering a new service" directs your energy. Your specificity sharpens your focus, and focus builds momentum. The clearer your definition, the more likely you are to stay consistent, because you can measure your steps against a concrete vision rather than a blurry idea. At the same time, your definition of leveling up should not be limited only to external achievements. True growth is both inner and outer. If you commit to a 90-day journey to improve your health but ignore your self-talk, you may find yourself reaching physical goals while still feeling unworthy inside. If you commit to building your finances but neglect your relationships, you may find yourself successful on paper but disconnected in spirit. The most powerful 90-day transformations happen when you define success not only by what you achieve but by who you become. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be at the end of these 90 days? Do I want to be more disciplined, more confident, more creative, more compassionate? When you define your level up in terms of identity as well as results, you ensure the changes are sustainable and holistic. Defining your level up also means being honest about what leveling up is not. It is not about comparing yourself to others or measuring your worth against someone else's highlight reel. It is not about proving your value to the world or chasing approval. It is about alignment with your own vision. If you define success based on other people's expectations, you will spend 90 days chasing a life that is not yours. Abundance requires honesty. It asks you to admit what you really want, not what you think will impress others. Your level up must be personal, rooted in your truth, otherwise it will never satisfy you. Clarity also requires courage, because once you define your level up, you will be confronted with the gap between where you are and where you want to be. That gap can feel intimidating, but it is also the birthplace of growth. Too many people allow the discomfort of the gap to paralyze them. They look at how far they have to go and decide it is safer not to begin. But when you give yourself 90 days, you shrink the gap into a manageable path. You stop asking, "How can I change my whole life overnight?" and start asking, "What can I change in the next 90 days?" The gap becomes less of a chasm and more of a bridge, and each step you take carries you closer to the vision you define. Defining your level up also requires you to anchor your vision in emotion. Facts and numbers are helpful, but emotion fuels commitment. If you say you want to lose weight, ask yourself why. Is it to feel confident in your body, to have the energy to play with your children, to prove to yourself that you can? If you say you want to grow your income, ask why. Is it to create freedom, to support your family, to give generously, to build a legacy? When you connect your goals to deeper emotions, you turn them into something more than tasks. They become part of your identity, and that emotional connection will carry you when motivation wanes. Finally, defining your level up requires you to believe that it is possible. Without belief, clarity becomes fragile. You may know exactly what you want, but still convince yourself it is out of reach. Belief is the bridge between vision and action. Even if the vision feels intimidating, you must hold the conviction that progress is within your power. 90 days does not demand that you believe in perfection or in achieving everything at once. It only asks that you believe in your ability to take consistent steps and trust that those steps will lead somewhere greater. Belief turns your vision from a fantasy into a direction. And once you begin moving in that direction, momentum builds naturally. When you define your level up, you set the tone for your entire 90-day journey. You create clarity, focus, and alignment. You ensure that every day is not just motion but meaningful progress. You step out of the haze of vague intentions and into the precision of vision. And most importantly, you give yourself the gift of direction. Without it, 90 days will pass in a blur. With it, 90 days will become the foundation of a new chapter in your life. The work begins with defining where you are headed, and once that definition is in place, the journey unfolds with power and purpose. Chapter 4. Crafting your 90-day vision map. Once you have defined what leveling up means to you, the next step is to create a map for your journey. Without a vision map, your 90 days may drift into reaction rather than intention. You might still make progress, but it will be scattered, inconsistent, and vulnerable to the distractions that inevitably appear. A map does not eliminate challenges, but it ensures you know where you are going and why you are going there. It becomes your anchor, reminding you of your direction when enthusiasm fades, and your compass when circumstances pull you off track. Creating a 90-day vision map is not about micromanaging every detail of your life, but about shaping a clear framework that gives your energy structure and your days purpose. Think of the vision map as a bridge between your big picture goals and your daily actions. On one side is the identity and life you defined in the previous chapter, the version of yourself you are becoming. On the other side are the actions you take each day. The map connects them. It translates desire into practice and vision into movement. Without the bridge, your vision remains abstract, a hopeful image of what might be possible. With a bridge, you create a practical pathway that allows the possible to become real. 90 days is not about theory. It is about lived transformation, and the map is how you live it. The process begins with clarity on outcomes. Ask yourself, what exactly do I want to achieve by the end of these 90 days? Not in vague terms, but in measurable, specific outcomes. Do you want to lose 10 pounds? Do you want to save $3,000? Do you want to finish the first draft of your book? Do you want to meditate daily for 3 months to cultivate inner calm? Whatever it is, write it clearly and specifically. This outcome becomes your North Star. It does not mean you will ignore everything else in your life, but it gives you a primary focus that keeps you aligned. A journey without an outcome is wandering. A journey with an outcome is purposeful. Once you identify the outcome, the next layer of the map is milestones. 90 days can feel daunting if you view it only as a long stretch of time. Milestones break it into manageable sections. Consider dividing your journey into 3 30-day phases, each with its own checkpoint. For example, if your goal is to write a book, your first milestone might be creating a detailed outline by day 30. Your second milestone might be drafting the first half by day 60. And your final milestone might be completing the draft by day 90. Milestones provide markers of progress, and each one achieved builds confidence and momentum for the next. They also allow you to adjust along the way if needed, because you can see where you are on the path rather than waiting until the very end to assess. With milestones in place, the map then moves to habits. Outcomes are achieved not by dramatic leaps, but by small, consistent actions repeated daily. Ask yourself, what habits must I adopt in order to reach my milestones and outcome? If your goal is improved health, your habits might include walking daily, drinking more water, and cooking meals at home. If your goal is financial growth, your habits might include tracking expenses, dedicating time each week to building new income streams, and practicing mindful spending. If your goal is personal growth, your habits might include journaling, reading, or practicing gratitude. Habits are the bricks that build the road to your vision. Without them, the map remains theoretical. With them, it becomes a daily practice of alignment. A powerful vision map also accounts for obstacles. Too many people plan only for their best days, forgetting that real life is unpredictable. If you ignore potential challenges, you may lose momentum the first time things do not go as planned. Instead, take time to anticipate what could stand in your way. Will you face time constraints? How will you adjust? Will you struggle with motivation? What tools will you use to reignite your energy? Will you encounter financial stress, family obligations, or unexpected delays? Rather than pretending these challenges will not happen, include them in your map. Write down strategies to overcome them. This way, when resistance arises, you already have a plan and can respond with intention rather than panic. Another vital piece of your 90-day vision map is accountability. Human beings are more likely to follow through when they are supported or witnessed. Accountability can take many forms. It may be a trusted friend with whom you share your milestones. It may be a mentor or coach who checks your progress. It may even be a community of people on a similar journey. Accountability does not mean relying on others to do the work for you. It means creating structures that remind you of your commitments. When you know someone will ask how you are doing, you are more likely to stay aligned with your vision. Your map becomes stronger when it includes not only your inner drive, but also external support. Your map should also include space for reflection and celebration. Too often, people rush through their goals without pausing to acknowledge progress. They reach milestones and immediately look to the next, robbing themselves of the joy that fuels consistency. Celebration is not indulgence, it is reinforcement. It signals to your mind and body that progress is valuable, that effort is worth it, and that the journey is rewarding in itself. Build small celebrations into your 90-day map. Perhaps you treat yourself to something meaningful when you reach a milestone, or you simply take time to reflect and write down the progress you see. These rituals of acknowledgement anchor the transformation and make the process sustainable. Crafting your vision map also requires flexibility. Structure is vital, but rigidity can destroy momentum. If you cling too tightly to a plan, you may feel defeated the moment reality shifts. Flexibility allows you to adapt while maintaining direction. If a milestone takes longer than expected, adjust your map. If a habit does not serve you, replace it with one that does. Flexibility is not failure. It is wisdom. The map is not a prison, but a guide. It evolves as you evolve, and in doing so it remains relevant and supportive rather than oppressive. Finally, remember that your 90-day vision map is a tool, not the destination itself. Do not confuse planning with progress. Too many people spend endless hours perfecting their plans while avoiding the action that creates results. Craft your map with care, but then step into it fully. Let it guide you, but do not let it paralyze you. The purpose of the map is to move you forward, not to trap you in endless preparation. Once your map is in place, the work begins, and that work is what transforms you. At the end of 90 days, your map will serve another purpose. It will become a record of your journey, a document that proves what you are capable of when you commit with intention. You will look back and see not just the outcome but the pathway you followed, the obstacles you overcame, and the habits you built. That record will be priceless because it will remind you that you have the power to create transformation whenever you choose. It will also provide a foundation for the next cycle of growth. Your future vision maps will be even more powerful because you will already have evidence of what works for you. Crafting your 90-day vision map is an act of self-respect. It declares that your time matters, your dreams matter, and your growth is worth structuring. It transforms your 90 days from a blur of scattered attempts into a coherent, purposeful season. With clarity of outcomes, milestones to guide you, habits to sustain you, strategies for obstacles, accountability to support you, and celebration to fuel you, your map becomes more than paper. It becomes a mirror of your commitment and a compass for your future. And when you follow it, you will find that 90 days is not only enough to level up, but enough to begin a lifetime of intentional living. Chapter 5. Mindset Reset. Reprogramming your beliefs. Every action you take is rooted in belief. You may not always recognize it, but your behavior, your habits, and even your sense of possibility are governed by the thoughts you hold about yourself and the world. If you believe you are capable, your actions reflect that. If you believe you are unworthy, your actions reflect that as well. Beliefs operate like invisible scripts, directing your life without conscious permission. If you want to level up in 90 days, you must be willing to examine those scripts and reprogram them. A mindset reset is not a superficial adjustment. It is a deep shift that rewrites the story of who you are and what you are capable of becoming. Most people carry beliefs formed long before they consciously chose them. A teacher's criticism, a parent's fear, a peer's comment, or a past failure may have planted seeds that grew into convictions. You may not remember when you decided you were bad at money, incapable of discipline, unworthy of love, or destined to struggle. But those beliefs still linger in your subconscious. Left unchallenged, they shape your choices, limit your vision, and sabotage your progress. The good news is that beliefs are not permanent. They can be questioned, reframed, and replaced. 90 days is more than enough time to create new mental patterns, provided you approach the process with intention and consistency. The first step in reprogramming your beliefs is awareness. You cannot change what you do not recognize. Begin by noticing the recurring thoughts that arise when you set a goal or face a challenge. Do you tell yourself you are too old, too inexperienced, or too late? Do you hear yourself thinking that success is reserved for others, not for you? Do you assume that setbacks are proof of failure rather than part of growth? Pay attention to the language you use with yourself, because it reveals the beliefs operating beneath the surface. Awareness is uncomfortable because it exposes the ways you have been limiting yourself. But it is also liberating because it gives you the power to choose differently. Once you identify limiting beliefs, the next step is to question them. Ask yourself whether they are facts or assumptions. A belief like, "I always fail," may feel true because you can recall times when you did not succeed, but is it the full truth? Have there not also been times when you persevered, learned, or improved? Scarcity convinces you to focus only on evidence that supports limitation, while abundance challenges you to see the bigger picture. When you begin questioning, you loosen the grip of those beliefs. You realize they are not absolute laws but stories you have repeated. Stories can be rewritten, and that is the essence of a mindset reset. Replacing limiting beliefs requires intentional practice. It is not enough to remove the old. You must install the new. Affirmations, visualizations, and journaling are powerful tools for this process. Write down the beliefs you want to embody and repeat them daily, even before they feel natural. For example, instead of "I am terrible with money," declare, "I am learning to manage money with wisdom and abundance." Instead of "I cannot stay consistent," affirm, "I am disciplined and committed to my growth." These statements may feel awkward at first, but repetition rewires the brain. Over 90 days, the unfamiliar becomes familiar, and the new beliefs begin to feel natural. Visualization amplifies this process. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself living out your new beliefs, Your brain cannot distinguish between imagined experience and real experience. It creates neural pathways as if you had already lived that reality. If your belief is that you are disciplined, visualize yourself waking up early, following your routines and completing your goals. If your belief is that you are creative, picture yourself generating ideas with ease and expressing them confidently. The more vividly you imagine, the more powerfully you reinforce the new identity. Visualization, practiced daily, accelerates the process of reprogramming. Journaling adds another layer by allowing you to examine and reshape your thoughts in writing. Each day, take time to reflect on the beliefs that surfaced and how you responded to them. Write down evidence that supports your new beliefs. For example, if your new belief is that you are consistent, record every instance where you followed through, no matter how small. Over time, your journal becomes a record of proof that reinforces your shift. It shows you that the new beliefs are not just affirmations but realities you are living. A mindset reset also involves your environment. The people you surround yourself with, the content you consume, and the spaces you occupy all influence your beliefs. If you are surrounded by negativity, scarcity, and doubt, it will be harder to sustain new thought patterns. If you immerse yourself in positivity, growth, and abundance, your new beliefs will find fertile ground. Over the next 90 days, pay attention to what you expose yourself to. Choose voices that encourage you, spaces that inspire you, and practices that reinforce your growth. Your environment can either sabotage your reset or accelerate it. It is also important to understand that reprogramming beliefs is not about pretending challenges do not exist. A mindset reset is not blind optimism. It is about facing reality while choosing empowering interpretations. When obstacles arise, scarcity says, "This proves I cannot do it." Abundance says, "This is an opportunity to grow stronger." The circumstances may be the same, but the belief you attach to them changes everything. By consciously choosing empowering beliefs, you change your relationship with difficulty, and that change sustains your momentum through the 90 days and beyond. Consistency is the key. A single affirmation or visualization session will not rewire years of conditioning, but repeated daily practices, reinforced by action, create change. When you pair new beliefs with aligned behavior, you accelerate the shift. For example, if you affirm that you are disciplined, prove it by showing up for your daily habit. If you affirm that you are creative, act on an idea instead of dismissing it. Belief fuels action, and action reinforces belief. The cycle builds momentum until the new identity becomes second nature. At the end of 90 days, you will not only have taken action toward your external goals, but also reshaped the internal framework that supports them. You will have learned to catch limiting beliefs, question them, and replace them with empowering ones. You will have practiced affirmations, visualizations, and journaling until they became tools you naturally use. You will have created an environment that supports your growth and developed a deeper resilience to challenges. Most importantly, you will have begun living from abundance rather than scarcity. And that shift will affect every area of your life. Reprogramming your beliefs is not about becoming someone else. It is about releasing the false stories that kept you from being who you truly are. It is about uncovering the strength, creativity, discipline, and worthiness that were always within you, but buried beneath scarcity. When you reset your mindset, you do not just prepare for 90 days of growth. You prepare for a lifetime of expansion. The 90-day container is simply the proving ground, the place where you practice and reinforce the beliefs that will carry you forward long after this season ends. And when you look back, you will realize that the greatest transformation was not in what you achieved, but in who you became. Chapter 6. The Discipline of Daily Alignment. 90 days may sound like a long time, but in reality it is built one day at a time. Each sunrise offers you a choice: to live in alignment with the vision you have declared, or to slip back into patterns that hold you in place. The difference between transformation and stagnation is not found in grand gestures or sudden breakthroughs, but in the quiet discipline of daily alignment. Alignment means that your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your energy are all pointing in the same direction. It means that your habits are not random but deliberate, designed to support the person you are becoming, rather than the person you have been. If you want to level up in 90 days, you must commit to aligning each day with your greater vision, no matter how ordinary or small those days may appear. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many people think of it as restriction, as punishment, or as a heavy burden that takes the joy out of life. But true discipline is not about deprivation. It is about devotion. It is the daily act of showing up for the version of yourself you are choosing to become. Discipline is love in action. because it is a way of saying, I believe in my future enough to take responsibility today. When viewed through this lens, discipline becomes freedom, not limitation. It frees you from the chaos of inconsistency and the frustration of self-sabotage. It frees you from drifting without direction. It creates the structure in which your vision can thrive. Daily alignment begins with awareness in the morning. The first thoughts you allow when you wake up set the tone for the day ahead. If your mind immediately floods with stress, distraction, or doubt, you carry that energy into your actions. But if you begin your day with intention, whether through gratitude, affirmations, or simply remembering your 90-day vision, you anchor yourself in purpose before the world has a chance to scatter your focus. A morning ritual, however simple, can serve as the ignition for alignment. It does not need to be elaborate. What matters is consistency. A few minutes of conscious thought is enough to remind you who you are becoming and to prepare you to act accordingly. Alignment is also about the choices you make throughout the day. Every action is a vote for the person you want to become. When you choose to follow through on your commitments, you are voting for your future self. When you choose to procrastinate or avoid responsibility, you are voting for your past self. These choices may seem small, but they accumulate into patterns. The question to ask yourself repeatedly is, does this action align with my 90-day vision? If the answer is yes, do it wholeheartedly. If the answer is no, be willing to release it. This simple question becomes a compass, guiding your behavior and ensuring that your daily discipline stays rooted in purpose rather than obligation. One of the greatest challenges of daily alignment is that progress is often invisible in the beginning. You may wake up early one day, complete your work, or eat a healthy meal and see no immediate transformation. This is where many people give up, convincing themselves that small actions do not matter. But the truth is that transformation is not immediate. It is cumulative. A single aligned day may not change your life, but 90 aligned days will. The discipline lies in trusting the process, even when the results are not yet visible. It is the commitment to show up because you know that each aligned day is a brick in the foundation of the life you are building. Discipline is also about consistency rather than perfection. Too many people abandon their journey because they miss a day, make a mistake, or fall short of their own expectations. They convince themselves that one failure has erased all progress. But true discipline is not about never falling. It is about always returning. If you stumble, align again. If you skip a habit, recommit the next day. The power of 90 days lies not in flawless execution but in relentless consistency. Progress is made not by those who never falter but by those who refuse to quit. Every time you return to alignment, you strengthen your discipline and prove to yourself that you are committed to the journey. Daily alignment also requires that you pay attention to your energy. It is not only about what you do, but about how you do it. If you move through your habits resentfully, you may complete the tasks but miss the transformation. If you align your energy with gratitude, presence, and focus, your actions carry more power. This is why abundance is so essential to discipline. Scarcity views discipline as empowerment, while abundance views discipline as empowerment. When you align from a place of abundance, you are not forcing yourself through chores, but choosing actions that expand your life. The same task feels entirely different when fueled by joy instead of obligation. Another key aspect of daily alignment is reflection. At the end of the day, take time to assess whether your actions reflected your vision. Did you live in alignment with your goals? Where did you drift? Where did you succeed? This practice not only reinforces progress but also allows you to make immediate adjustments. Without reflection, days blend into weeks without awareness. With reflection, each day becomes a lesson guiding you toward deeper alignment tomorrow. Even a few minutes of honest review can transform your discipline from mechanical repetition into conscious growth. It is important to recognize that discipline is not meant to make your life rigid or joyless. In fact, the more aligned your days become, the more freedom you feel. Chaos drains energy, procrastination creates stress, inconsistency breeds frustration. But when you live in alignment, you experience clarity, peace, and momentum. The structure you create through discipline is not a prison, it is a pathway. It is what allows you to move steadily toward your vision, without being constantly derailed by distraction or doubt. Over time, what once felt like discipline becomes natural, because it is simply the way you live. The discipline of daily alignment also prepares you for life beyond the 90 days. These 3 months are a container, but they are also a rehearsal for the rest of your life. The habits you practice, the awareness you cultivate, and the consistency you develop will not vanish when the 90 days end. They will become part of your identity. This is why it is essential to approach daily alignment not as a temporary challenge, but as the foundation of who you are becoming. 90 days of discipline plants the seeds of a lifestyle and the harvest will continue long after the season has passed. The truth is that greatness is never built in a single moment. It is built in the accumulation of small, aligned actions repeated over time. It is built in the discipline of showing up when it is inconvenient, of choosing alignment when it would be easier to drift, of trusting the process when the results are not yet visible. This is the essence of daily alignment. It is not glamorous, but it is transformative. It is the difference between wishing for change and living it. And when you look back after 90 days, you will see that it was not a single leap that transformed you, but the discipline of aligning with your vision day after day. Chapter 7. Building Habits That Stick. The true engine of transformation is not found in inspiration alone, but in the habits you practice daily. Inspiration may spark the desire for change, but habits sustain it. Without them, motivation fades, intentions weaken, and 90 days pass without significant progress. Habits are the architecture of your life. They are the invisible structures that shape your actions, your energy, and your outcomes. If you want your 90-day journey to create lasting change, you must build habits that not only carry you through this season, but also anchor you in the life you are becoming. A habit is simply an action repeated so consistently that it becomes automatic. The beauty of habits is that once they are established, they require less conscious effort. Instead of having to convince yourself to act every day, the habit itself carries you forward. But habits work both ways. Some habits elevate you while others hold you back. The small decisions you make without much thought, how you start your morning, how you respond to stress, how you manage your time, are all governed by habits. If your current habits are aligned with scarcity, procrastination, or self-sabotage, your results will reflect that. If you shift those habits to align with abundance, discipline, and growth, your results will reflect that as well. The first step in building habits that stick is clarity. You must decide which habits will serve your 90-day vision. This requires honesty. Not every habit matters equally. Some habits are keystone habits, meaning they create a ripple effect that improves many areas of life. For example, regular exercise does not just improve physical health. It boosts energy, sharpens focus, and enhances discipline in other areas. Practicing gratitude does not just improve mood, it shifts perspective and strengthens resilience. When designing your habits, look for the few that will have the greatest impact, and commit to those rather than scattering your energy across too many changes at once. Once you identify the habits you want to build, the next step is to make them small enough to succeed. Many people fail to sustain habits because they set the bar unrealistically high in the beginning. They decide to meditate for an hour a day, exercise for 2 hours, or completely overhaul their diet overnight. This intensity may last for a few days, but rarely survives the demands of real life. The secret to lasting habits is starting small. Meditate for 5 minutes, exercise for 15 minutes, drink 1 more glass of water. These small actions may seem insignificant, but they are the seeds of transformation. Over time, they grow. What matters most is not how much you do at first, but how consistently you do it. 90 days of small, repeated actions will take you further than a week of massive, unsustainable effort. Consistency requires triggers. A habit is easier to sustain when it is anchored to something that already exists in your life. This is called habit stacking. For example, if you want to start journaling, do it immediately after brushing your teeth in the morning. If you want to practice gratitude, do it before your first meal of the day. If you want to exercise, schedule it immediately after work. Linking a new habit to an existing routine reduces decision fatigue and increases the likelihood of follow-through. The brain loves patterns, and by stacking new actions onto established ones, you create automatic sequences that make discipline feel natural. Environment also plays a powerful role in habit formation. It is difficult to build habits that stick if your surroundings constantly work against you. If you want to eat healthier but your kitchen is filled with processed snacks, you are fighting an uphill battle. If you want to read more but your phone is always within reach, distraction will win. Designing your environment to support your habits is one of the most effective ways to sustain them. Place a water bottle on your desk as a reminder to hydrate. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Keep your journal on your pillow so you remember to write before bed. Make the desired habit easier and the undesired habit harder, and you will find yourself aligning with your vision almost effortlessly. Another key to building habits that last is tracking. What gets measured gets managed. When you record your progress, you create a visible reminder of your commitment. This could be as simple as checking off a calendar each day you complete your habit, or writing down your progress in a journal. Tracking creates accountability and also provides encouragement. On days when motivation wanes, looking back at the streak of completed days reminds you of how far you have come. The brain thrives on evidence of progress, and tracking provides that evidence in a tangible way. Celebration reinforces habits as well. Many people assume they must wait until they achieve a major milestone to celebrate, but celebration works best when it is small and frequent. Each time you follow through on your habit, take a moment to acknowledge it. Smile, say out loud that you are proud of yourself, or mark it with a ritual that feels meaningful. This positive reinforcement trains your brain to associate the habit with reward, making you more likely to repeat it. 90 days of consistent celebration turns discipline into joy, and joy is far more sustainable than sheer willpower. Accountability strengthens habits further. Share your commitments with someone you trust, join a group with similar goals, or use tools that remind you of your progress. Accountability does not mean depending on others to do the work for you. It means creating structures that support your discipline. When you know someone will ask how you are doing, you are more likely to stay aligned. Accountability turns your habit into more than a private intention. It becomes a public commitment, and that adds weight to your follow-through. Patience is essential. Habits are not built overnight. Research suggests it takes weeks or even months for a habit to become automatic. The exact number of days matters less than the principle. Repetition creates permanence. If you focus only on immediate results, you may become discouraged and quit. But if you focus on the process, trusting that consistency will eventually lead to ease, you will sustain the habit long enough for it to become part of your identity. This is the true goal of habit formation. Not just to perform an action repeatedly, but to become the kind of person who naturally does it. The most powerful shift happens when habits move from being something you do to being part of who you are. Instead of saying, "I am trying to exercise," you begin to say, "I am someone who values my health." Instead of saying, "I am learning to write," you begin to say, "I am a writer." Identity anchors habits more deeply than willpower ever could. When your actions are aligned with who you believe you are, consistency becomes natural. Over the next 90 days, as you build your habits, focus not only on what you are doing, but also on who you are becoming. This identity shift ensures that your habits will last long beyond the 90-day container. At the end of your 90 days, the habits you have built will form the foundation of your new life. They will not feel forced but natural, not like chores but like part of your rhythm. They will carry you into the next season with momentum and confidence. Habits are the invisible architecture of transformation, and when you build them with clarity, patience, and joy, they will support you for years to come. 90 days is not just enough time to create change. It is enough time to build habits that will continue to expand your life long after this chapter has ended. Chapter 8. Fueling your energy. Energy is the currency of transformation. Without it, even the clearest vision and the strongest intentions collapse under the weight of fatigue and burnout. 90 days may seem like a simple block of time, but to sustain focus and discipline for that period, you must cultivate the energy that supports you physically, mentally, and spiritually. Energy is not something that appears randomly. It is something you generate and protect. When you fuel your body, mind, and spirit with care, you expand your capacity to follow through on the commitments you have made to yourself. The question is never just whether you have the will to succeed, but whether you have the energy to carry your will into consistent action. Physical energy forms the foundation. Your body is the vessel through which you experience life, and if it is depleted, everything else suffers. Many people set ambitious goals without considering whether their lifestyle is providing the energy required to pursue them. The truth is simple. When your body is well-nourished, well-rested, and active, you bring more focus and power to every area of your life. When it is neglected, even the smallest tasks feel overwhelming. Fueling your body begins with honoring its needs rather than punishing it. Sleep, movement, and nutrition are not luxuries. They are non-negotiables. In the next 90 days, committing to these fundamentals will give you the stamina to sustain your transformation. A rested body sharpens your focus. A nourished body stabilizes your mood. A moving body strengthens your resilience. These are not side notes to your journey, they are the very ground beneath it. Mental energy is just as crucial. Your mind is constantly processing information, and without management it becomes cluttered and distracted. This drains your energy, leaving you exhausted before you even begin. To fuel your mind, you must practice both focus and renewal. Focus comes from eliminating distractions, choosing priorities, and protecting your attention. Renewal comes from giving your mind space to rest, reflect, and reset. Too many people assume that productivity means constant effort, but mental energy thrives on rhythm. Intense focus followed by intentional rest creates more progress than endless hours of scattered work. Protecting your mental energy may mean setting boundaries with technology, carving out time for quiet, or engaging in practices like meditation and journaling. Over 90 days, these practices will not only restore your energy but sharpen your clarity, allowing you to act with precision rather than chaos. Spiritual energy completes the picture. You are more than a body and a mind. You are also a spirit, a consciousness, a being that craves meaning and connection. Without spiritual energy, even great achievements can feel empty. Fueling your spirit means aligning with a sense of purpose greater than your daily tasks. It means remembering why your 90-day journey matters, not just for what you achieve, but for who you are becoming. For some, spiritual energy is cultivated through prayer, meditation, or time in nature. For others, it arises from acts of service, creativity, or deep connection with others. However you choose to nurture it, spiritual energy gives you a well of strength that cannot be depleted by ordinary challenges. It provides perspective in moments of struggle and joy in moments of progress. It reminds you that your journey is not just about checking boxes, but about expanding into your fullest self. Fueling your energy also requires protection. You can build energy, but you can also lose it quickly if you are not intentional. Negative environments, toxic relationships, and self-destructive habits all drain energy at an alarming rate. Over the next 90 days, pay attention to where your energy goes. Notice the conversations, activities, and patterns that leave you feeling drained rather than renewed. Once you identify them, create boundaries. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it is essential. You cannot sustain growth if you are constantly leaking energy into places that do not serve you. Protecting your energy may mean saying no more often, reducing time on social media, or distancing yourself from negativity. Each choice you make to protect your energy is a choice to invest in your transformation. One of the most overlooked aspects of energy is joy. Too often, personal growth becomes so serious, so rigid, that joy is forgotten. Yet joy is one of the most powerful sources of energy available. When you allow yourself to laugh, to play, to celebrate small moments, you recharge in ways that discipline alone cannot provide. Over the next 90 days, find ways to infuse joy into your journey. Dance, create, spend time with loved ones, explore new experiences. Joy is not a distraction from progress, it is fuel for it. It keeps your spirit light, your mind flexible, and your body resilient. A journey without joy is not sustainable, but a journey infused with joy becomes an adventure you are eager to continue. Energy also comes from alignment. When you are living in harmony with your values, your choices, and your vision, you generate energy naturally. When you are living out of alignment, you leak energy through stress, resistance, and self-betrayal. One of the reasons a 90-day journey is so powerful is because it forces alignment. Each day you practice habits that match your vision, you feel stronger and more alive. Each day you betray those habits, you feel weaker and more depleted. The more aligned you become, the more energy you unlock. Alignment is not about perfection, but about consistency, and consistency multiplies energy far more effectively than sporadic effort ever could. Another key to fueling your energy is balance. Growth requires effort, but effort without recovery leads to burnout. Your 90-day journey will challenge you, but it must also restore you. Balance does not mean equal time for everything. It means giving your energy where it is most needed, while ensuring you are replenished. If you are working intensely, balance it with rest. If you are pushing your body, balance it with nourishment. If you are demanding much of your mind, balance it with stillness. Balance allows you to sustain intensity without collapse. It ensures that your energy flows steadily, rather than crashing in cycles of extremes. By the end of 90 days, the way you feel your energy will determine not only what you accomplish, but how you feel about it. Achievements without energy leave you exhausted, resentful, and unable to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Achievements fueled by energy leave you vibrant, fulfilled, and ready for more. This is why energy is the true currency of transformation. It is the resource that makes everything else possible. Without it, discipline fades. With it, discipline becomes natural. Without it, vision remains a dream. With it, vision becomes reality. Fueling your body, mind, and spirit is not optional if you want to level up. It is the foundation upon which everything else rests. Over the next 90 days, your energy is the fuel that carries you from intention to transformation. Nurture it, protect it, and celebrate it. When you learn to generate and sustain energy, you discover that growth is not a struggle but a flow. You realize that abundance is not only about resources or opportunities, but about the vitality with which you live each day. Energy is abundance in motion, and when you fuel it wisely, you unlock a life that feels limitless. Chapter 9. Wealth, prosperity, and flow. When people hear the word wealth, their minds often leap immediately to money. While financial abundance is an important part of prosperity, wealth in its truest sense extends far beyond the numbers in a bank account. Wealth is a state of flow, a condition in which resources, opportunities, and creativity move through your life with ease. Prosperity is not simply about accumulation but about circulation, about knowing that there is always more than enough, and that your role is not to hoard, but to channel. Over the course of 90 days, you can dramatically shift your relationship with wealth by reframing it not as something scarce to be chased, but as something abundant to be cultivated and received. Scarcity teaches us to fear money, to see it as limited, fragile, and elusive. From this mindset, money becomes a source of anxiety and tension. You may believe that there is never enough, that you must work endlessly to deserve even a little, or that others' gain is somehow your loss. This mindset breeds exhaustion and resentment, and it often leads to self-sabotage, because the fear of lack keeps you locked in cycles of short-term survival rather than long-term growth. Shifting into abundance means seeing money as energy. Just as you do not fear the air you breathe or the water that flows, you stop fearing the flow of money. You begin to trust that money moves in cycles, and that your openness, creativity, and discipline determine how it moves in and out of your life. To level up in wealth and prosperity over 90 days, the first step is to become conscious of your beliefs about money. These beliefs often run so deep that they feel like facts. Perhaps you grew up hearing that money is hard to earn, that it corrupts, or that people like you will never have much. These beliefs continue to shape your behavior long after the words were spoken. Over the next 90 days, notice the thoughts and feelings that arise when you deal with money. Do you tense up when you think about bills? Do you feel guilty when you spend on yourself? Do you hesitate to charge what your work is worth? Each of these reactions reveals a belief that may need to be reprogrammed if you are to experience prosperity. Once you uncover these beliefs, the next step is to practice reframing them. Instead of "money is hard to come by," you begin affirming, "Money flows to me through creativity, service, and alignment." Instead of "wanting more is greedy," you affirm, "Prosperity allows me to create more, give more, and experience more." These affirmations are not empty phrases, they are seeds. Each time you repeat them, you loosen the hold of scarcity and invite your subconscious to accept new possibilities. Over the course of 90 days, these seeds grow into new behaviors and new outcomes, because your actions naturally align with the beliefs you hold. Prosperity also requires action, not only affirmation. Money flows most easily when you provide value, solve problems, and express your gifts. Too many people wait for abundance to arrive without realizing that they must participate in its creation. Ask yourself how you can contribute more meaningfully over the next 90 days. Can you develop a skill, offer a service, create a product, or share knowledge that benefits others? Can you approach your current work with a spirit of excellence and generosity that attracts new opportunities? Prosperity is not passive. It responds to initiative, creativity, and commitment. When you act with the intention of serving and creating, you open channels for wealth to flow. Another critical component of prosperity is stewardship. Abundance does not reward waste or negligence. To build wealth that lasts, you must honor the resources you already have. This means managing your money with care, tracking your income and expenses, and making decisions that reflect both responsibility and vision. Scarcity says, "I will pay attention to money once I have more of it." Abundance says, "I will respect and manage what I have now so that I am ready for more." Over the next 90 days, simple practices like budgeting, saving, or eliminating unnecessary expenses can create a sense of empowerment that shifts your entire financial energy. Prosperity grows where stewardship is practiced. Generosity is equally important. Scarcity clings tightly, afraid to let go of even a little, believing that giving diminishes what you have. Abundance knows that giving multiplies. When you share your resources, whether money, time, or knowledge, you affirm your trust in the flow of life. You declare that there is enough for you and enough for others. This act of generosity expands your energy and often leads to unexpected returns. Over the next 90 days, practice giving in ways that feel authentic. It does not need to be grand. Even small acts of generosity reinforce the principle of circulation and keep you aligned with prosperity. Wealth is also about openness to receiving. Many people unconsciously block prosperity because they feel unworthy of it. They downplay their achievements, reject compliments, or undercharge for their services. They fear that accepting abundance will make others resent them, or that it will somehow prove them selfish. But abundance cannot enter a closed door. To receive, you must believe that you are worthy. You must be willing to say yes when opportunities come, and to allow resources into your life without guilt. Over the next 90 days, notice how you respond when life offers you more. Do you shrink back, or do you accept it with gratitude? Learning to receive is as important as learning to give. True prosperity is not measured solely in money, but in flow. Flow means that energy, opportunities, and resources move through your life with ease rather than friction. You feel supported, not burdened. You feel expansive, not constricted. You trust the process, knowing that what you give returns, and that what you receive allows you to give more. Living in flow requires trust. Trust that your efforts matter. Trust that life responds to alignment. Trust that abundance is not an accident, but a natural state when you participate fully in the cycle. Over the next 90 days, cultivating this trust will shift not only your finances, but your entire experience of prosperity. Wealth, prosperity, and flow are not destinations you arrive at once and for all. They are states you cultivate daily. In 90 days, you may not become a millionaire, but you can absolutely transform your relationship with money, your sense of worthiness, and your openness to abundance. You can establish new financial habits, generate new streams of income, and experience greater ease around resources. More importantly, you can step into the identity of someone who lives in prosperity rather than scarcity. That identity is what will sustain you long after these 90 days are complete. When you look back, you will see that prosperity was not something you stumbled upon, but something you created. You reprogrammed your beliefs, aligned your actions, honored your resources, gave generously, and received openly. You shifted from fear to trust, from tension to flow, from lack to abundance. That shift is the true wealth because it cannot be taken from you. Once you embody prosperity, it becomes the lens through which you view every opportunity, the rhythm through which you live, and the flow that carries you to higher levels of growth and abundance. 90 days is enough to begin living this truth, and once you do, you will never return to the old patterns of scarcity again. Chapter 10. Expanding your creative power. Creativity is not reserved for artists, musicians, or writers. It is the birthright of every human being, because creativity is simply the ability to generate ideas, solve problems, and express the unique perspective that only you carry. Yet many people have been taught to believe that they are not creative, that creativity belongs to a gifted few. This belief has silenced countless voices and dimmed countless sparks. If you are to level up in 90 days, you must reclaim your creative power. It is not only about painting or composing, but about learning to approach life as a canvas, one where your choices, actions, and innovations create the masterpiece of your future. Expanding your creative power is about trusting that your imagination and intuition are not trivial but essential tools for transformation. The first step in expanding creativity is to understand that it is not something you either have or do not have. It is a muscle. Like any muscle, it grows stronger with use and weakens with neglect. If you have not practiced creativity in years, it may feel foreign at first, but that does not mean it is absent. It means it has been dormant, waiting to be awakened. Over the next 90 days, every act of imagination, every solution to a problem, every attempt to express yourself will strengthen that muscle. Soon, what once felt difficult will become natural. You will begin to see connections where you once saw confusion, opportunities where you once saw obstacles, and possibilities where you once saw dead ends. One of the greatest obstacles to creativity is fear of judgment. From an early age, many people are taught that their ideas are foolish, their art is not good enough, or their expression does not matter. These judgments linger, silencing the voice of creativity. To expand your creative power, you must be willing to create without waiting for approval. You must give yourself permission to explore, to make mistakes, and to experiment without fear of failure. Creativity thrives in freedom, not in perfection. Over the next 90 days, release the need for every idea to be brilliant or every attempt to succeed. Instead, focus on generating, expressing, and experimenting. The act of creating is itself the success, because it builds momentum and unlocks parts of yourself that have been hidden. Another key to expanding creativity is curiosity. When you approach life with curiosity, you ask questions, you notice details, and you remain open to learning. Creativity is born from curiosity because it thrives on new input. The more you expose yourself to different ideas, experiences, and perspectives, the more material your mind has to work with. Over the next 90 days, cultivate curiosity. Read books outside your usual interests. Engage in conversations with people who see the world differently. Explore places you have never been, and ask questions instead of assuming answers. Each new input is a seed, and your creative mind will weave those seeds into unexpected connections that lead to innovation and growth. Environment also plays a powerful role in creativity. A cluttered, chaotic, or uninspiring environment stifles imagination, while a space filled with beauty, order, and inspiration nurtures it. If you want to expand your creative power, take time to shape your surroundings intentionally. This does not require wealth or extravagance. A clean workspace, a few objects that inspire you, or even a change in lighting can shift your energy dramatically. Nature, too, is one of the most powerful stimulants of creativity. Time spent outdoors, away from screens and artificial noise, reconnects you to rhythms and patterns that spark ideas effortlessly. Over the next 90 days, treat your environment as a partner in your creative expansion, and notice how the spaces you occupy influence the flow of your imagination. Another often overlooked aspect of creativity is play. Adults tend to abandon play as something childish, yet play is one of the purest expressions of creativity. It is exploration without agenda, curiosity without pressure, and joy without judgment. Play opens the mind, loosens rigidity, and allows unexpected ideas to surface. Over the next 90 days, reintroduce play into your life. Dance, sketch, build, explore hobbies, or simply allow yourself to do something with no purpose other than enjoyment. Play is not wasted time. It is fuel for creative power. It reminds you that growth can be joyful, and joy often leads to breakthroughs that discipline alone cannot produce. Creativity also expands through discipline. While inspiration is valuable, waiting for it limits you. Discipline creates the conditions for inspiration to arrive. Writers who sit at the page daily, artists who paint consistently, entrepreneurs who brainstorm regularly, all discover that creativity grows through practice. Over the next 90 days, create rituals of creativity. Set aside time each day, even if only 15 minutes, to generate ideas, write, sketch, or problem solve. These small rituals build momentum, and momentum invites inspiration. The discipline of showing up signals to your mind that creativity is not optional but integral, and your subconscious will begin to respond by offering more insights and ideas. Another important aspect of creative expansion is collaboration. While solitude is valuable for focus, creativity often multiplies when shared. Engaging with others exposes you to different perspectives, sparks new ideas, and challenges you to think beyond your own limitations. Collaboration does not mean losing your voice. It means enriching it by weaving it with others. Over the next 90 days, seek opportunities to collaborate, join communities, share your ideas openly, and allow others to contribute to your vision. Collaboration creates synergy, and synergy often leads to results greater than what any individual could produce alone. To expand your creative power, you must also learn to quiet the noise of self-doubt. Creativity is vulnerable. It requires you to bring forth something from within and risk that it may not be understood or appreciated. Doubt will whisper that you are not talented enough, not experienced enough, or not original enough. The only way to overcome this is to act anyway. Doubt loses power in the face of action. Each time you create, despite fear, you strengthen your creative courage. Over 90 days, you will find that the voice of doubt grows quieter, while the voice of inspiration grows stronger. Courage, not confidence, is the true ally of creativity, because confidence is the reward that comes after you act with courage. Finally, creativity expands through alignment. When your creative expression is aligned with your values, your passions, and your vision, it feels authentic and powerful. When it is forced or disconnected, it feels empty. The most sustainable creativity comes from the heart, from the places within you that feel true. Over the next 90 days, pay attention to what lights you up, to the ideas that excite you, to the expressions that feel alive. These are clues to your authentic creative path. Following them will not only expand your power but also infuse your journey with meaning. By the end of 90 days, you will discover that creativity is not something you lacked, but something you had always carried within you. You will have practiced curiosity, play, discipline, and collaboration. You will have created despite doubt, explored new inputs, and shaped environments that inspire you. Most importantly, you will have reclaimed the truth that creativity is not a luxury but a necessity. Not an occasional indulgence but a daily practice. Expanding your creative power will not only help you achieve your goals, but also transform the way you experience life. You will see problems as opportunities, failures as lessons, and ordinary moments as canvases for expression. Creativity is abundance in motion, and when you expand it, you expand your entire life. Chapter 11. Leveling up relationships. No journey of transformation can be complete without addressing relationships. The people around you influence your energy, your mindset, and your sense of what is possible. They either encourage your growth or anchor you to patterns that no longer serve you. When you decide to give yourself 90 days to level up, you are not only changing your habits, your mindset, and your vision, you are also reshaping the dynamics of your connection. Relationships are a mirror of who you are becoming. As you shift, the way you engage with others must shift as well. To level up relationships means to elevate the quality of your interactions, the depth of your connections, and the boundaries that protect your energy. Relationships begin with self-relationship. How you treat yourself sets the tone for how others treat you. If you are harsh, critical, and unforgiving with yourself, you will either tolerate those same behaviors from others or attract people who reinforce them. If you are kind, patient, and respectful toward yourself, you naturally set higher standards for what you accept. Over the next 90 days, one of the most powerful ways to level up your relationships is to practice compassion and respect toward yourself. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. Honor your needs instead of dismissing them. Value your own time and energy. As you strengthen your relationship with yourself, every other relationship will be influenced by that shift. Another essential aspect of leveling up relationships is clarity. Too often people remain in connections out of habit rather than alignment. They continue to pour energy into relationships that no longer nurture them, while neglecting relationships that could bring growth and joy. The next 90 days are an opportunity to evaluate the people in your life honestly. Ask yourself which relationships energize you and which ones drain you, which ones support your growth and which ones resist it. This is not about judging people as good or bad, but about recognizing whether your connection is aligned with the person you are becoming. Growth sometimes requires distance, and it always requires discernment. You do not have to cut people out harshly, but you do need to be intentional about where you invest your limited energy. Communication is another pillar of upgraded relationships. Many struggles in relationships come not from malice, but from misunderstanding. People often assume that others can read their minds, or that silence will avoid conflict, but both approaches create distance. To level up your relationships, you must be willing to communicate with honesty and clarity. This means expressing your needs without guilt, listening without defensiveness, and seeking understanding rather than victory. Over the next 90 days, practice speaking with authenticity. Share your vision with the people who matter most. Let them know what you are working toward and why it matters. Invite them to support you, but also be prepared to hold steady if they do not understand. Clear communication builds bridges, and bridges strengthen connection. Boundaries are equally important. Without boundaries, relationships can consume your energy, blur your focus, and keep you from your vision. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out, but lines that protect your alignment. They communicate what you are willing to accept and what you are not. Over the next 90 days, consider where you need stronger boundaries. Perhaps it is limiting time with people who constantly drain you. Perhaps it is saying no to obligations that steal focus, or perhaps it is creating space for solitude. Boundaries may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to pleasing others, but they are acts of respect for both you and the relationship. Healthy boundaries allow connections to flourish because they are built on clarity rather than resentment. Relationships also flourish when you bring presence. In a world of distraction, true presence is rare and powerful. To be present means to give your full attention, to listen deeply, and to engage without the constant pull of your phone, your worries, or your to-do list. When you are present with someone, you communicate that they matter. Over the next 90 days, practice presence in your relationship. Put away distractions during conversations. Listen not just to respond, but to understand. Notice the details, the tone, and the emotion behind the words. Presence deepens connection and creates bonds that surface-level interactions cannot achieve. Support is another vital element of elevated relationships. Just as you need encouragement in your 90-day journey, so do the people around you. Leveling up relationships means becoming a source of support, not just seeking it. Ask yourself how you can contribute to the growth of others. Can you listen without judgment? Can you celebrate their progress? Can you offer guidance when asked? Support does not mean sacrificing your own vision, but it does mean recognizing that relationships are strongest when they are reciprocal. When you support others authentically, you strengthen trust and create an environment where support flows back to you naturally. At the same time, leveling up relationships means being willing to let go of dynamics that no longer align. This can be one of the most difficult aspects of growth. Some people in your life may resist your transformation, not because they do not care about you, but because your change challenges their comfort. They may prefer the version of you that stayed small, that did not disrupt the status quo. As you rise, you may outgrow certain friendships, partnerships, or patterns. Letting go is not failure, it is evolution. Over the next 90 days, if you find yourself in relationships that consistently drain you, disrespect you, or pull you away from your vision, consider whether distance is necessary. Releasing these connections with compassion creates space for new relationships that align with your growth. Relationships are also a source of inspiration. The right people will elevate your vision, challenge you to grow, and remind you of your potential when you forget. Over the next 90 days, seek out people who embody the qualities you wish to cultivate. Spend time with those who live in abundance, who dream boldly, and who take consistent action. Energy is contagious, and surrounding yourself with aligned people accelerates your own transformation. If you do not yet have such people in your life, begin by becoming that person yourself. As you embody the qualities you admire, you naturally attract relationships that reflect them. Finally, leveling up relationships means embracing love in its broadest sense. Love is not limited to romance or family, it is a way of showing up in the world. When you approach relationships with love, you bring patience, compassion, forgiveness, and generosity. You allow people to be human without demanding perfection. You hold space for their growth, while holding yourself accountable for your own. For the next 90 days, practice leading with love in your interactions. Love does not make you weak, it makes you powerful because it aligns you with the energy of abundance. Scarcity closes off, isolates, and competes. Love opens, connects, and multiplies. It is the energy that strengthens every relationship it touches. At the end of 90 days, you will find that your relationships reflect your growth. You will have cultivated deeper connections, clearer boundaries, and stronger communication. You will have released what no longer serves you and embraced what aligns with your vision. You will have become more present, more supportive, and more loving. Most importantly, you will have discovered that relationships are not separate from your journey of leveling up, but integral to it. They are the mirrors through which you see yourself more clearly, the allies who walk beside you, and the environment in which your growth either thrives or withers. When you level up your relationships, you level up your life. Chapter 12. Overcoming resistance and self-sabotage. Every meaningful journey brings resistance. Whenever you commit to growth, you will inevitably encounter forces that try to pull you back to where you started. These forces can be internal or external, but the most powerful resistance usually arises from within. It shows up as procrastination, doubt, fear, and self-sabotage. It convinces you that you are not ready, not capable, or not worthy. It tempts you to return to old habits, to delay action, or to abandon your vision altogether. If you want to level up in 90 days, you must understand that resistance is not a sign of failure, but a natural part of transformation. Your task is not to avoid it, but to recognize it, confront it, and move through it with persistence and clarity. Internal resistance often begins with fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, and fear of change all conspire to keep you in the comfort of the familiar. Even if your current patterns are unsatisfying, they feel safe because they are known. Growth, on the other hand, requires stepping into the unknown, and the mind resists uncertainty. Over the next 90 days, expect fear to arise. Do not mistake it for truth. Fear is not a prophecy, it is a reaction. It does not mean you cannot succeed. It simply means you are stretching beyond your comfort zone. The presence of fear is often proof that you are on the right path, because it shows you are entering territory that will expand you. Instead of fighting fear, acknowledge it. Thank it for trying to protect you, and move forward anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Procrastination is another form of resistance. It disguises itself as harmless delay, but underneath it lies fear and doubt. You tell yourself you will start tomorrow, or when the timing is better, or when you feel ready. Yet tomorrow rarely comes, and waiting for readiness ensures you never begin. Over the next 90 days, combat procrastination by reducing your goals to the smallest possible action and taking it immediately. Instead of overwhelming yourself with the thought of writing an entire book, commit to writing one page today. Instead of planning an entire new fitness routine, commit to walking for 15 minutes. Action breaks resistance, and small actions create momentum. Each time you act despite resistance, you weaken its grip and strengthen your discipline. Self-sabotage often emerges when you are making progress. Just as you begin to see results, You may unconsciously create obstacles. You might skip routines, overspend, overcommit, or pick fights that derail your focus. This is not because you lack ability, but because your identity has not yet caught up with your growth. The old self feels threatened by the new self, and sabotage becomes a way of pulling you back into familiar territory. Recognize that sabotage is not proof you cannot succeed, but evidence that you are changing. The key is to stay conscious. Notice the patterns and interrupt them. When you catch yourself reaching for behaviors that undermine your progress, pause and remind yourself of your vision. Ask, does this action align with the person I am becoming? If the answer is no, redirect. Each time you interrupt sabotage, you rewire your identity to match your growth. External resistance also plays a role. As you change, the people around you may not always understand or support your journey. Some may question your choices, criticize your efforts, or even mock your commitment. This is often not about you, but about their discomfort with change. Your growth challenges their assumptions, and rather than confronting their own resistance, they may try to pull you back. Over the next 90 days, expect that not everyone will cheer for you. Accept that truth and continue anyway. Surround yourself with people who encourage you, but do not depend on universal approval to move forward. Growth is rarely unanimous. Your commitment must come from within, not from the validation of others. Resistance also shows up as setbacks. Plans fail, circumstances shift, obstacles appear. It is tempting to interpret these setbacks as signs that you should quit. Scarcity interprets obstacles as proof that you are not meant to succeed. Abundance interprets obstacles as opportunities to grow stronger. Every challenge contains a lesson. Over the next 90 days, whenever you encounter setbacks, ask yourself what they are teaching you. Are they guiding you to adjust your strategy, to develop resilience, or to strengthen your patience? A setback does not erase your progress unless you allow it to. In fact, many of the most meaningful breakthroughs arise from the lessons learned in failure. View resistance not as a wall, but as a doorway, one you must push through to reach the next level. Another powerful tool for overcoming resistance is awareness of the inner critic. The critic is the voice that insists you are not good enough, that your efforts are worthless, that you are destined to fail. Left unchecked, this voice becomes the loudest one in your mind. To silence it, you do not need to eliminate it, you need to replace it. Over the next 90 days, practice countering every critical thought with an empowering one. If your critic says you always give up, respond with, this time I am consistent. If it says you are not smart enough, respond with, I am learning and growing every day. This practice reclaims your mental space from negativity and strengthens your ability to act from empowerment rather than fear. Accountability can also help you overcome resistance. When you keep your journey private, it is easier to quit without consequence. When you share your commitments with someone you trust, you create external support that helps you push through resistance. Accountability partners can remind you of your vision, celebrate your progress, and call you out when you drift. Over the next 90 days, seek accountability where you can. This might be a friend, a mentor, or a community of people pursuing similar goals. Resistance thrives in isolation but weakens in connection. It is also important to remember that resistance often peaks right before breakthroughs. Many people quit at the very moment when persistence would have carried them to transformation. The discomfort intensifies because you are close to shifting into a higher level of identity. Over the next 90 days, when you feel the strongest pull to quit, remind yourself that you may be on the verge of your greatest growth. Hold steady, stay consistent, and trust the process. Breakthroughs often arrive after the moments of greatest resistance. At the end of 90 days, you will not only have made progress toward your vision, but also developed the resilience to confront resistance whenever it appears. You will have learned to recognize fear without obeying it, to overcome procrastination with action, to interrupt self-sabotage with awareness, and to interpret setbacks as lessons rather than defeat. You will have strengthened your ability to stand firm when others doubt you, and to persist when your inner critic tries to pull you back. Most importantly, you will have proven to yourself that resistance is not stronger than your commitment. Each time you moved through it, you grew more powerful. That power is not temporary, it becomes part of your identity. When you look back, you will see that resistance was not the enemy of your journey, but the teacher that shaped your strength. Chapter 13. Momentum and Breakthroughs. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces you can harness during your 90-day journey. At the beginning, progress may feel slow, uncertain, and fragile. You are adjusting to new habits, reframing beliefs, and resisting the pull of old patterns. But as days accumulate and your consistency strengthens, you begin to generate momentum. Momentum is progress multiplied. It is the compounding effect of repeated action, where each step forward makes the next one easier. Once momentum is in motion, it carries you with a force that feels almost effortless compared to the heavy lifting of the early days. Breakthroughs often happen when momentum reaches a tipping point, when the small actions that once seemed insignificant combine into a visible transformation. To level up in 90 days, your task is to generate momentum and trust that breakthroughs will follow. Momentum begins with consistency. There is no shortcut around it. You cannot build momentum through occasional bursts of effort followed by long stretches of inaction. It is created by showing up day after day, even when the results are not immediately visible. Think of a snowball rolling down a hill. At first it is small and moves slowly, but as it rolls, it gathers mass and speed until it becomes unstoppable. Each aligned action you take is another roll of the snowball. In the early weeks, you may feel like you are pushing hard for little reward. But as the days accumulate, the energy compounds, and suddenly what once felt heavy now feels natural. This is momentum, and it is one of the greatest rewards of disciplined persistence. Breakthroughs often feel sudden, but they are rarely accidents. They are the result of invisible progress that has been building quietly in the background. For weeks, you may feel like nothing is changing, like your efforts are not paying off, and then suddenly the results appear. The writer who has been showing up daily finally sees the manuscript take shape. The entrepreneur who has been building slowly finally experiences a surge of growth. The person committed to health finally notices their body transforming. What feels like an overnight success is simply the visible moment of a process that has been unfolding consistently. Over the next 90 days, remember that every day of alignment brings you closer to these breakthrough moments, even if you cannot yet see them. Momentum also generates confidence. When you first begin, you may doubt your ability to follow through. Each day you succeed, however small, provides evidence that you are capable. That evidence builds belief, and belief fuels further action. Soon the question shifts from, "Can I do this?" to "How far can I go?" This shift is powerful because it moves you from hesitation to expansion. You stop holding back and start leaning into your potential fully. 90 days of momentum transforms not only your results, but also your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, who creates change, who is capable of more than you once imagined. One of the keys to sustaining momentum is celebrating progress. Too often, people dismiss small wins as insignificant, waiting only for the big milestone to celebrate. But momentum thrives on acknowledgement. Every time you celebrate a step forward, you reinforce your progress and fuel your motivation. Over the next 90 days, take time to notice your wins, however small. Did you show up consistently for a week? Celebrate. Did you resist an old habit and choose a new one? Celebrate. These moments of recognition are not trivial. They are the fuel that keeps momentum alive until breakthroughs arrive. It is also important to protect momentum from sabotage. Just as it can build quickly, it can also be disrupted if you allow old patterns to creep back in. Momentum does not require perfection, but it does require vigilance. When you miss a day, do not let it stretch into a week. When you slip into old habits, do not allow shame to drag you down. The key is to return quickly. The longer you delay, the more energy it takes to rebuild momentum. But when you return promptly, the force you have built continues almost uninterrupted. Over the next 90 days, expect that setbacks will occur, but commit to recovery as quickly as possible. This commitment ensures that your momentum remains strong and steady. Breakthroughs often come not only in results but also in perspective. As you gain momentum, you begin to see yourself differently. The habits that once felt difficult become second nature. The challenges that once felt overwhelming now seem manageable. You begin to trust yourself in ways you never did before. This shift in self-perception is itself a breakthrough because it changes the way you approach everything in your life. You are no longer trying to become disciplined, you are disciplined. You are no longer trying to change, you are changed. This identity shift is the essence of leveling up, and it is sustained by momentum. Momentum also creates opportunities. As you continue to act consistently, you attract circumstances and connections that would not have appeared if you would remain stagnant. People begin to notice your progress. Opportunities begin to align with your efforts. Doors open that were previously closed. This is not coincidence, but the natural result of energy in motion. Life responds to movement, and momentum signals that you are serious about your growth. Over the next 90 days, trust that as you continue building momentum, opportunities will emerge that you could not have planned but that align perfectly with your vision. Another powerful aspect of momentum is compounding. Just as money grows through compound interest, progress grows through compound action. One habit strengthens another. One success creates the confidence for the next. One breakthrough fuels another. The effects multiply over time, creating exponential growth. What feels small at first becomes significant, and what feels significant becomes transformational. Over the next 90 days, remember that each small step is not isolated but part of a compounding process that will deliver results far greater than the effort of any single day. Breakthroughs are not always dramatic. Sometimes they are quiet moments of clarity where you suddenly see the world differently. You realize that a limiting belief no longer controls you. You notice that a habit that once felt forced now feels natural. You recognize that you are handling stress with grace that would have overwhelmed you before. These subtle breakthroughs are just as valuable as the visible ones, because they signal that transformation has taken root at a deeper level. 90 days of momentum does not just change what you do, it changes who you are. At the end of your 90-day journey, momentum and breakthroughs will be among the greatest rewards. You will look back and realize that the hardest part was the beginning, when momentum had not yet formed and resistance was strongest. You will see that once you built momentum, the process became easier, more natural, and more joyful. You will recognize the breakthroughs, both big and small, that emerged from your persistence. Most importantly, you will carry forward the understanding that momentum is a resource you can generate at any time. It is not limited to this 90-day season. Whenever you commit, act consistently, and persist through resistance, you can create momentum again. And with momentum, breakthroughs are inevitable. Chapter 14. Celebrating wins along the way. Progress is not only about discipline and persistence, it is also about acknowledgement. Too many people chase their goals with intensity but forget to pause and recognize their progress. They believe that celebration should wait until the final outcome is achieved, but this mindset robs the journey of joy and drains the energy needed to continue. Celebration is not indulgence, it is fuel. When you take the time to celebrate your wins, large or small, you anchor progress in your mind, reinforce your commitment, and create momentum that carries you forward. Over the course of 90 days, celebration becomes one of the most powerful tools you can use to sustain your energy and remind yourself of how far you have come. One reason celebration is so vital is because of the way the human brain works. Your brain responds to reward, releasing dopamine when you acknowledge a success. This chemical reinforces the behavior, making you more likely to repeat it. Without celebration, even consistent effort can feel empty and motivation dwindles. Imagine running a marathon where no one cheers, no one marks the mile markers, and no one acknowledges the finish. The journey becomes a lonely grind. But when each mile is celebrated, when progress is acknowledged, the runner feels renewed energy to continue. The same principle applies to your 90-day journey. If you wait until day 90 to celebrate, you miss 90 opportunities to strengthen your commitment. Celebration also reshapes the way you view progress. Scarcity teaches us to fixate on what we have not yet achieved, keeping our focus on the gap between where we are and where we want to be. This creates frustration and discouragement. Abundance, however, reminds us to focus on the gains, the steps already taken, the improvements already made, the growth already visible. When you celebrate wins along the way, you shift your attention from lack to progress. You remind yourself that success is not only in the destination but also in the journey. Each win, however small, is proof that transformation is unfolding, and acknowledging it allows you to enjoy the process rather than resenting it. Some people resist celebration because they fear it will make them complacent. They worry that if they acknowledge progress too soon, they will lose their drive. The opposite is true. Genuine celebration does not diminish ambition, it amplifies it. When you celebrate progress, you feel proud, encouraged, and energized. That energy propels you into the next step with even greater confidence. Celebration is not about declaring the journey complete, but about recognizing that it is worth continuing. Over the next 90 days, you will find that the more you celebrate, the more motivated you become to sustain your efforts. Celebration does not need to be grand or expensive. In fact, the most powerful celebrations are often simple, meaningful acknowledgments that remind you of your progress. It could be writing down a reflection in your journal, sharing your success with a friend, treating yourself to a small reward, or simply pausing to feel gratitude for your effort. What matters is not the size of the celebration, but the intention behind it. When you pause to say, "I did this," you create a moment of pride that anchors the progress in your mind. 90 days filled with such moments create a powerful sense of momentum that no external challenge can easily disrupt. Celebrating wins is also about gratitude. Each time you acknowledge a victory, you reinforce your gratitude for the progress you are experiencing. Gratitude, in turn, amplifies abundance. It keeps you focused on what is working, on the opportunities opening up, and on the resources already available. Gratitude transforms the journey from a grind into a gift. Over the next 90 days, every time you celebrate, let gratitude be part of the ritual. Thank yourself for showing up. Thank the people who supported you. Thank the circumstances that aligned in your favor. Gratitude makes each win feel richer and strengthens your connection to the process. Relationships also grow stronger through celebration. When you share your wins with others, you invite them into your journey, allowing them to cheer for you and celebrate alongside you. This creates connection, accountability, and shared joy. Likewise, when you celebrate the wins of others, you build deeper bonds and reinforce an environment of abundance. Scarcity resents others' success, but abundance celebrates it. Over the next 90 days, make it a practice not only to celebrate your progress, but to celebrate the progress of those around you. Doing so multiplies encouragement and creates a community of support where growth is amplified for everyone involved. Another reason to celebrate is because it helps you endure the challenges that inevitably arise. The 90-day journey will not be free of setbacks. There will be days when you feel tired, uncertain, or resistant. In those moments, remembering and celebrating past wins reminds you that you are capable of overcoming difficulty. It provides evidence that you have succeeded before and can succeed again. Without this evidence, it is easy to convince yourself that setbacks mean failure. Celebration becomes the proof that growth is real and ongoing, even if the current moment feels difficult. It keeps you grounded in progress rather than despair. Celebration also builds identity. Each time you celebrate a win, you reinforce the identity of someone who is consistent, disciplined, and capable. The act of acknowledging progress tells your subconscious, "This is who I am." Over time, this identity becomes stronger, and the actions required to maintain it become natural. By the end of 90 days, the person who began the journey will feel distant, because you will have built the identity of someone who not only pursues growth but also honors it. Celebration is how you bridge the gap between effort and identity, turning your actions into part of who you are. It is important, too, to celebrate not only external results but also internal growth. It is easy to focus only on outcomes. Weight lost, money earned, goals achieved. But some of the most significant wins are invisible. Did you overcome fear? Celebrate. Did you show up on a day you felt unmotivated? Celebrate. Did you choose patience instead of anger? Discipline instead of distraction? Or faith instead of doubt? Celebrate. These internal shifts are the foundation of lasting transformation, and acknowledging them ensures they take root. Over the next 90 days, do not overlook these victories. They may be quiet, but they are profound. At the end of your 90-day journey, you will look back and see a trail of wins that carried you forward. Each celebration will remind you not only of what you achieved, but also of who you became. You will realize that the journey was not defined only by the finish line, but by the countless moments along the way when you paused, acknowledged, and honored your progress. Those celebrations are what make the journey meaningful, joyful, and sustainable. Without them, growth feels like an endless chase. With them, growth feels like a life worth living. Celebration is abundance in practice, and when you embrace it, you ensure that your 90 days are not just productive, but fulfilling. Chapter 15. The New You at Day 90. When you reach the end of a 90-day journey, the most profound change is rarely found in the checklist of outcomes. Yes, you may have lost the weight, written the pages, earned the money, or built the new habits you set out to create. But deeper than these external results lies something even more powerful: the transformation of identity. You are not the same person who began. The 90 days have reshaped the way you think, the way you act, and the way you see yourself. The new you at day 90 is not a fantasy version of perfection, but a stronger, wiser, more aligned version of yourself, who knows that growth is possible and has the evidence to prove it. The first change you notice is in your mindset. At the beginning, you may have carried doubt, fear, or hesitation. You may have wondered if you could stay consistent, or if this time would be any different from the times before. But as the days accumulated, your persistence rewired those doubts. Each action you took became proof that you are capable of follow-through. Each obstacle you overcame became evidence that you are resilient. By day 90, the doubts may still whisper, but they no longer control you. You now have a reservoir of experience that reminds you you are stronger than your fears. This mental shift is not temporary. It becomes the foundation upon which future growth will rest. Another powerful transformation lies in your habits. Habits are the true architecture of identity. At the beginning of the journey, your actions may have required immense discipline, as you forced yourself to choose new behaviors over familiar ones. But 90 days of repetition has shifted them from effort into rhythm. The habits that once felt foreign are now part of your daily life. You wake up and follow routines without resistance. You prioritize the practices that align with your vision, without having to argue with yourself. This automatic alignment is one of the clearest signs of the new you. You no longer think of growth as something external to chase. It is simply how you live. Confidence is another defining trait of the person you become at day 90. Confidence does not arrive from theory or from positive thinking alone. It comes from evidence. It comes from doing what you said you would do, even when it was difficult, and seeing the results unfold. 90 days of consistency provides a body of evidence that cannot be denied. You now know you can commit and follow through. You know you can face resistance and persist. You know you can create change in a relatively short span of time. That knowledge transforms hesitation into confidence, and that confidence expands into every area of your life. You walk differently, speak differently, and carry yourself with a strength that was not there before. The new you at day 90 also carries a different relationship with time. At the beginning, 90 days may have felt overwhelming, a long stretch of discipline to endure. But now you see time differently. You realize that 90 days was not endless. It passed quickly, and in that short period you created a transformation that once felt distant. This shifts your entire perspective. You stop underestimating what you can accomplish in a season. You begin to see time as abundant, as a resource you can use intentionally to create whatever change you desire. This realization is empowering because it shows you that any future vision can be broken down into seasons of focus. Time is no longer your enemy. It is your ally. Relationships too often look different at day 90. As you have grown, the way you engage with others has shifted. You may have strengthened certain connections, released others, and set boundaries that protect your energy. You may find that people treat you differently, not because they changed, but because you have. You now carry yourself with a clearer sense of worth and a stronger sense of alignment, and relationships respond to that energy. The new you does not settle for dynamics that drain you. You value your energy and surround yourself with people who support, challenge, and inspire your growth. This shift creates a ripple effect that strengthens every aspect of your life. At day 90, you also realize that setbacks no longer hold the same power over you. Earlier in the journey, a single slip might have derailed you, sending you into shame or discouragement. But now you see setbacks as part of the process. You know how to recover quickly, how to return to alignment without spiraling into self-sabotage. This resilience is one of the clearest marks of transformation. The new you understands that growth is not about perfection, but about persistence. Not about avoiding failure, but about rising after it. This resilience ensures that your progress is sustainable long beyond the 90 days. Perhaps the most profound change at day 90 is in your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to change. You see yourself as someone who has changed and who continues to evolve. The old identity, the one that doubted, procrastinated, or sabotaged, has lost its hold. In its place stands a new identity grounded in discipline, abundance, and alignment. You have become the kind of person who honors commitments, who invests in growth, who chooses action over avoidance. This identity shift is powerful because it ensures that the external results are not temporary. They are rooted in who you now believe yourself to be. And belief shapes behavior long after motivation fades. It is important to remember that the new you at day 90 is not the final version. Growth does not end here. What you have created is a foundation, a higher level from which to continue. You have proven to yourself what is possible in a short, focused period, and now you carry that knowledge into the future. The new you is not someone who stops growing, but someone who embraces growth as a way of life. The real breakthrough is not just in what you achieved, but in who you became, and in the realization that this process can be repeated again and again. Each 90-day season can carry you higher, expanding your potential without limit. When you look back at who you were 90 days ago, you may feel a mix of pride, gratitude, and amazement. You will remember the fears, the resistance, and the uncertainty that marked the beginning. You will see how far you have come, not only in visible results but in invisible strength. You will realize that what once felt impossible is now part of your reality. That realization will ignite a new sense of possibility for the future. If this much can change in 90 days, what might be possible in the next 90 or the next after that? The new you carries that question with excitement, not fear, because you now trust yourself to create the answers. By day 90, you are living proof that transformation is possible. You have not only achieved goals but embodied a new way of being. You have cultivated habits, shifted beliefs, strengthened relationships, and deepened your resilience. You have discovered confidence, reclaimed your energy, and stepped into alignment with abundance. The new you at day 90 is not a different person altogether, but a truer version of yourself. One that had been waiting beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and distraction. 90 days gave you the space to bring that version forward, and now it stands at the center of your life. That is the true gift of this journey. Chapter 16, Beyond 90 Days. Living the Abundance Lifestyle. 90 days can transform you, but the true purpose of this journey is not to create a temporary burst of progress, only to return to old patterns. The purpose is to build a foundation, a way of living that carries forward into the rest of your life. By the end of 90 days, you have proven to yourself that change is possible, that habits can be reshaped, that beliefs can be rewritten, and that identity can be redefined. The question now is what you will do with that proof. Will you treat the 90 days as a challenge completed, or will you allow it to be the beginning of a new way of life? To live in abundance means to choose the second path. It means to extend the principles of these 90 days into every season, to create a rhythm of continual growth, and to embrace expansion as your natural state. Abundance is not a destination but a practice. It is the daily choice to view life through the lens of possibility rather than limitation, gratitude rather than lack, and flow rather than struggle. When you live abundantly, you are not waiting for perfect circumstances to give you permission to thrive. You are creating joy, meaning, and progress regardless of circumstances. This perspective is what sustains growth long after the 90-day container has ended. Abundance does not depend on external outcomes. It depends on your willingness to align with expansion, to see opportunities, and to act in faith. When you live in abundance, you carry the power of transformation wherever you go. Living the abundance lifestyle also means embracing cycles. Just as the 90-day period gave you structure, your life will continue to unfold in seasons. Some seasons will be about intense focus, discipline, and forward momentum. Others will be about rest, reflection, and integration. Both are necessary. Growth without rest leads to stagnation. Abundance understands that cycles are natural, and instead of resisting them, it flows with them. After one 90-day journey, you may choose to begin another immediately, building on your momentum, or you may choose a season of consolidation, allowing your new identity to stabilize before embarking on the next leap. Neither choice is right or wrong. Both are aligned when made consciously. Living abundantly means trusting the rhythm of your own growth and knowing that every season contributes to your evolution. Another key to sustaining the abundance lifestyle is continuing to expand your vision. At the end of 90 days, it is tempting to settle, to feel satisfied with progress and stop reaching higher. While it is important to honor your wins, it is equally important to remember that you are capable of more. Growth is not about dissatisfaction with the present, but about honoring your potential. Each time you reach a milestone, you create space for a new. Each time you evolve into a higher version of yourself, you glimpse a new horizon. Abundance means never shrinking your vision to fit comfort. It means daring to ask, what else is possible? What new levels of health, wealth, creativity, love, and contribution can I step into? By continuing to expand your vision, you ensure that your life remains alive with purpose. Sustaining abundance also requires maintaining the practices that brought you here. The habits, routines, and mindsets you develop during the 90 days are not temporary tools, they are building blocks for a new lifestyle. Continue to nurture them. Keep journaling, practicing gratitude, moving your body, protecting your energy, and aligning your actions with your vision. The moment you abandon these practices, you risk slipping back into old patterns. But when you maintain them, they become your default way of living. Over time, they will no longer feel like practices at all, but simply the way you exist. This integration is the hallmark of lasting transformation. Living the abundance lifestyle also means continuing to confront resistance. Just because you have completed 90 days does not mean resistance disappears. New levels bring new challenges. Every time you expand, you will encounter fresh doubts, fears, and obstacles. But the difference now is that you have learned how to face them. You know that resistance is not a sign to quit, but a signal of growth. You know how to move through fear, how to silence the inner critic, and how to persist through setbacks. These skills will serve you for the rest of your life. Each time resistance arises, you can remind yourself of the strength you demonstrated during your 90 days and trust that you have the tools to overcome whatever appears. Abundance also transforms the way you relate to others. The new identity you carry affects your relationships, your community, and your contribution. Living abundantly means not only seeking growth for yourself, but also inspiring and uplifting others. As you continue forward, ask yourself how you can share your journey, how you can support others on theirs, and how you can create ripples of abundance that extend beyond you. Contribution is one of the highest forms of abundance because it multiplies your growth through service. The more you give, the more you expand, and the more connected you feel to something larger than yourself. Living abundantly is never only about personal gain, it is about collective elevation. Another essential piece of the abundance lifestyle is flexibility. Life will not always unfold exactly as you planned. Circumstances shift, opportunities arise, and challenges appear. Living abundantly means remaining adaptable, trusting that even when plans change, growth is still possible. Rigidity creates frustration. Flexibility creates flow. When you approach life with the belief that everything contributes to your evolution, even the unexpected becomes part of the abundance. Over the years, this adaptability ensures that your growth is sustainable, because you are not relying on perfect conditions to thrive. You are learning to thrive regardless of conditions. Finally, living the abundance lifestyle means embracing the truth that there is no finish line. Growth is infinite. Expansion is limitless. You will never reach a point where there is nothing left to learn, create, or experience. This truth is not discouraging but liberating. It means that your life will always hold new possibilities, new horizons, and new opportunities for joy. The abundance lifestyle frees you from the pressure of arrival. Instead of chasing a final destination, you embrace the journey itself as the reward. Each day becomes an opportunity to live fully, to expand further, and to embody abundance more deeply. By choosing to live abundantly beyond your 90 days, you step into a life of continual evolution. You no longer need to wait for the perfect moment to begin, because you now understand that growth is always available. You no longer doubt your ability to create change, because you have already proven it. You no longer settle for scarcity, because you have tasted the richness of abundance. The 90 days may end, but the lifestyle endures. You carry with you the mindset, the habits, the resilience, and the confidence to continue rising. You are no longer someone who hopes for change, you are someone who lives it. At the end of this journey, you stand not only with achievements but with a new identity, a new perspective, and a new way of being. The abundance lifestyle is yours to claim, not as a temporary experiment, but as a lifelong practice. Each season of your life can now become an opportunity to expand, to create, and to live fully. You have discovered what is possible in 90 days. Imagine what is possible in a lifetime lived abundantly. That is the invitation before you. Step into it, embrace it, and let your life become the fullest expression of abundance you were always meant to embody.